to the Empress Palace Convention Center, a Piedmont resort. Before your function commences, please take safety at all times. Should you require any assistance during your visit, please contact one of our Empress Palace floor managers who are located in the convention center at all times. This property is protected by an automatic smoke detection and fire sprinkler system. In the event of a fire, an alarm will sound and you are required to exit the building. Exit via the main entrance stairs or the nearest appropriate emergency exit into the parking lot and assemble at the designated emergency assembly point. Remain in your group and do not wander off. Should someone be missing, please notify one of the marshals as soon as possible. Do not return into the building until the all clear is given. In order to assist with any medical needs, we have a clinic on site which operates 24 hours a day and is staffed by medical professionals. Should you require medical assistance or if there is a medical emergency, please alert the floor manager and they will activate our medical emergency protocols. Alternatively, if you are not feeling well, please notify the floor manager and you will be escorted to our clinic so that our medical staff may tend to you. For security purposes, we ask you to look after your belongings and ensure that all phones, laptops and handbags are secured in your possession and not to leave any items unattended. If something is missing or misplaced, please inform the floor manager so that we may assist you in locating the item. We also have security guards stationed throughout the resort to ensure your safety. Please follow all security instructions given to you as this is for your safety. Thank you for your time. And Empress Palace wishes you a wonderful day at our convention.
I'm Dr. Birdina McConaughey. I'm an ethnomusicologist with a
And
passion
Empress
for
Palace
classical
wishes
bass
you a
and
wonderful day. Wishes you a wonderful day.
Yizwa imita
note of the following safety tips that are designed to ensure your safety at all times. Should you require any assistance during your visit, please contact one of our Emperor's Palace floor managers who are located in the convention center at all times. This property is protected by an automatic smoke detection and fire sprinkler system. In the event of a fire, an alarm will sound and you are required to exit the building. Exit via the main entrance stairs or the nearest appropriate emergency exit into the parking lot and assemble at the designated emergency assembly point. Remain in your group and do not wander off. Should someone be missing, please notify one of the marshals as soon as possible. Do not return into the building until the all clear is given. In order to assist with any medical needs, we have a clinic on site which operates 24 hours a day and is staffed by medical professionals. Should you require medical assistance or if there is a medical emergency, please alert the floor manager and they will activate our medical emergency protocols. Alternatively, if you are not feeling well, please notify the floor manager and you will be escorted to our clinic so that our medical staff may tend to you. For security purposes, we ask you to look after your belongings and ensure that all phones, laptops, and handbags are secured in your possession and not to leave any items unattended. If something is missing or misplaced, please inform the floor manager so that we may assist you in locating the item. We also have security guards stationed throughout the resort to ensure your safety. Please follow all security instructions given to you, as this is for your safety. Thank you for your time, and Emperor's Palace wishes you a wonderful day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Goeienaand almal. Sanbonani nonke. Gia jabula gakulum. Kuluma nawe namslanje kusilwa. Angi kuluma isizulu gasle. Gi kuluma ingane. Kotwa. Giafunda. Giazama. Voor ons mensen van die Western Cape en Pretoria en Noordwes, julle moet pas op. Ek praat die taal baie goed. Julle moet nie skinder vanaand nie. Ladies and gentlemen, as your program director for this evening, it is indeed a privilege and an honor to welcome all of you to the inaugural National University Teacher Awards, which is presented by the South African University Teachers. We have an incredible evening lined up for you this evening. We have awards being presented to some of the best teachers at the universities across the country. We have some inspiring messages from some of our guest speakers. And we have incredible entertainment and food this evening. So when I looked at the schedule, I see that we have people flying from Western Cape, from Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, the greatest province in the country. It's my hometown, so Pretoria, etc. So people were struggling earlier today to get into OR Tambo International Airport. I see there were some traffic jams. Anybody flew business class? Somebody did? Ah, okay, good. You see, folks, I travel a lot. I travel internationally often. I never fly business class. You see this body? It was made for economy. I fit into that economy seat perfectly. There is no room. When they bring me food, they bring me just enough to help me survive the trip. They do not feed me anymore in economy. Therefore, I am accustomed to flying economy. Colleagues, the National University Teaching Awards is a signature project of the South African University Teachers, which is the national framework for enhancing academics as university teachers. The Minister of Higher Education and Training is the patron, and he hosts this event. We are very proud that for the inaugural award ceremony, we recognize excellence across the universities. We have a representative directly from the Minister's office. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to officially welcome you. I would like to call upon Professor Clever Ndebele to address you. Professor Ndebele is chair of the South African University Teachers, and he is a professor at Walter Sisulu University. Please join me in welcoming Professor Ndebele. Prof.
Thank you, Program Director. Representatives from the Department of Higher Education and Training, led by Mr. Chabalala, Deputy Vice Chancellor Teaching and Learning at Walter Sisulu University, the host, Professor M.J. Linnington, Senior Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic at Wits University, previous host of these awards, Professor Osman, members of the National Youth University Teaching Awards team, university leadership, honored guests. It is both a distinct privilege and a singular honor to address you this evening in my capacity as chair of South African University Teachers, SOUT. As we convene to celebrate and formally recognize outstanding contributions to the field of higher education, I am reminded of the transformative power that exceptional teaching wields within our institutions, our nation, and the global academic community. Teaching excellence constitutes the very cornerstone of our academic mission. It is a practice that transcends the mere transformation of knowledge. It is the art of igniting intellectual inquiry, cultivating scholarly curiosity, and shaping the trajectories of future generations. It embodies the quiet courage required to challenge prevailing assumptions, a deep and abiding commitment to student development, and an unwavering belief in the inherent potential of every learner or student. Over the past few years, we have endeavored to redefine our conception of excellence to be more inclusive of the diversity that characterizes our higher education sector. Tonight, we honor university teachers who exemplify these ideals, not only within their pedagogical practice, but also through their scholarship, mentorship, and leadership. These are individuals who have elevated the craft of teaching into a potent force for advancing equity, fostering innovation, and driving national development. Their work serves as a vital reminder that the heart of a university beats strongest in its lecture halls, seminar rooms, and collaborative learning spaces, the very arenas where ideas are conceived, nurtured, and ultimately disseminated. We are gathered to celebrate the accomplishments of 9 National University Teaching Award awardees and 5 commendees, representing both the 2024 and the 2025 cohorts. These accolades are a testament to a higher education system that is achieving systemic maturity and embedding a culture that values inclusive excellence. The diversity of the awardees and their respective institutions is a clear indicator that these awards are no longer the exclusive preserve of a few elite universities, but rather a recognition that excellence transcends conventional geographic and institutional boundaries. Therefore, let this evening be not only a celebration of individual and collective achievement, but also a reaffirmation of our shared purpose to cultivate a higher education system that is inclusive, that is dynamic, and deeply responsive to the complex needs of our society. To our esteemed awardees, we offer our highest commendation. Your dedication inspires and uplifts us all. I thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Inspiring words indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, as you can see, the South African University Teachers Organization went to great lengths to welcome you, putting together a fabulous event led by Professor Ravi Danpath and an amazing organizing team. In fact, they went the extra mile, folks. As you arrived in Johannesburg, you would have noticed the grass was cut, the roads were painted, the street lights were fixed, The traffic was held up. Sorry, this is my brother telling me, don't lie to them. But folks, the organizing team did go to extreme lengths to welcome you. As you can see, everything's laid out well. Those flower arrangements, when I walked in, I was mesmerized when I looked at those flower arrangements. It takes such skill for somebody to grow something of such beauty, put it together. I admire people who can plant and make things grow, like my wife. She plants these ideas in my head. And before you know it, I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm cutting grass when I should be writing articles. Folks, we have an exceptional team of people who have put this event together. At this point, I would like to call upon Professor Margaret Linnington, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Walter Sisulu University, to provide an opening address to you. Professor Linnington.
Thank you, Program Director. Professor De Vroep, I've heard you play the sax, so I'm looking forward to hearing some more this evening. And it's nice to see you again. The Honourable Minister in absentia, Mr. Shabalala and Ms. Kakwe from DHET, and other DHET officials, anyone from SALT, Prof. Ndebele as the Chair, NUTA members, distinguished guests, all those who were part of the organization and who on Monday mornings religiously attended an organizing committee meeting, which I was terrible at attending. Thank you as well, and I need to acknowledge the hard work that went into it. The awardees here tonight, it is an honor to be in your company. Respected colleagues, fellow champions of educational excellence. It's my profound honor to welcome you to this inaugural ceremony of the National University Teachers Awards. I feel quite at home because I used to, up to a year ago, live around the corner in Johannesburg. But now I have made my home in the Eastern Cape. So in welcoming you, I would like to share my favorite isiXhosa word, wamkelekile. It is such a word of warmth, and I do hope this evening is an evening of warmth. I must apologize on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, and I'm humbled to give this address on her behalf. As the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the host institution. It's an honor to address a gathering of South Africa's most dedicated educators and advocates for teaching excellence. Your presence here today underscores our collective commitment to recognizing and celebrating the transformative power of exceptional university teaching. Teaching has changed over time, and we wonder whether it's not due to the evolution of teaching excellence recognition. When I started out way back in some many years ago with the grey hair, all you needed to do to become a university lecturer was have a PhD or master's. And then you gladly sailed into the classroom and bored your poor students to death. And if you were wise or realized that's maybe not quite what you should be doing, you went and found someone to help you. But things have changed so much since then. And I think the support we give our teachers will be evident tonight, and it's going to be evident from the mentorship of those here tonight and others into the future as this teaching excellence recognition increases. But these are the inaugural awards, but they are they are founded on the awards that used to. Sorry, I've lost my place. My fault. These awards trace their distinguished lineage to the National Excellence in Teaching and Learning Awards, which started in 2009 through the visionary collaboration between the CHE and HELTASA. And I think they have laid the foundation for these awards. And so for 15 years, they have been a prestigious beacon of excellence, acknowledging and celebrating educators who demonstrated outstanding teaching practice, innovation, and pedagogical approaches. When I first started teaching, I didn't know what pedagogy was. I'm a scientist, by the way. I knew a lot about genetics. We extended our profound gratitude to the leaders, adjudicators, and administrators who stewarded those awards with such distinction. So today marks a significant milestone as we inaugurate the 24-25 National University Teaching Awards, the culmination of several years of rigorous development and implementation of the national framework for enhancing academics as university teachers. This comprehensive framework was developed collaboratively by representatives from universities across South Africa and received ministerial approval in 2018 under the leadership of the then Minister, Naledi Pandor, and it's now implemented as part of the University Capacity Development Program, or the UCDG. These awards serve several purposes within our system. Through our laureates, we recognize that teaching represents a profound calling, one that our exceptional educators pursue with unwavering dedication and passion. By acknowledging their contributions, we celebrate the innovation, commitment, and extraordinary efforts that extend far beyond conventional expectations. The awards establish benchmarks for exceptional performance, providing tangible standards to which all academics may aspire. And in doing so, they cultivate a culture of continuous improvement. Furthermore, by illuminating exemplary practice, we offer valuable insights and inspiration to other educators. We call ourselves professors at a certain point in our university life. There is no other profession that calls themselves professors. And yet, our claim to fame for professorship is not the profession of teaching. And so I think these awards have made a huge stride in professionalizing the teaching that us professors do. So we recognize the craft, the commitment, the quiet courage that define teaching excellence. Teaching excellence is not a moment, it's not a module, it's not an assessment, and it's not 1 year. It's a dedication of your life. And it's those people who go beyond what's expected of them. They walk the extra mile. They find that student that they can see as potential but that is struggling. They understand where the modern generation comes from and adapt their teaching to various types of learning. They equip themselves with the knowledge of the latest technologies and use innovation on how to harness those technologies for the greater good of learning. Although these are the South African University Teachers Award, I often say teaching's very like agriculture. You really can't teach anyone anything. And farmers don't grow anything. Farmers create an environment where plants grow or animals grow. They do the growing, not the farmers. In the same way, as educators and as teachers, we create the environment where our students can learn. And so teaching is so intricately woven into learning. And we can see what these teachers do. They inspire, they transform, and they lead. They strengthen their classrooms, they strengthen their students, and they create a future of which we can be proud. To our awardees and commendees, your work exemplifies the highest aspirations of university education. Your dedication, your grace, your humility, creativity, and steadfast commitment is truly exemplary. Congratulations. Let us continue to champion the pursuit of excellence and with the same passion and dedication that these educators have shown us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Linnington. Wise words indeed. I would like to reiterate, we call ourselves professors when we strive for research, but we fail to acknowledge it is the teachers who get us there in the first place. Speaking of the teachers, do we have anyone from the journalism faculty, journalism departments? Nobody? Well, the reason I'm asking is because I came across a very interesting article about a month ago. Has anyone heard of Mr. Nichiko Ogawa? Well, here's an interesting fact. Mr. Ogawa, about a month ago, became the oldest human being to summit Mount Fuji. He did it at the age of 102 years. Not only did he summit Mount Fuji, he also took along his daughter, who was 70 years old, and they both summited Mount Fuji. Imagine climbing a mountain at age 102. I am baffled that I was able to climb out of bed this morning. And what concerns me more is when I watch all of you people come up that stairs, so many of you are struggling to climb up those 10 stairs. But hats off to Mr. Ogawa and his daughter. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt that universities can be stressful environments. Just last week, I had a student come to my office and he says, "Prof, I'd like to rewrite that exam I did not write in the first place." I did find a great saying though, online, and they said the best way to cope with stress at university levels is to drink lots of water. You see, if you drink a lot of water, your bladder fills up. You spend most of your time in the restroom, away from those stressful people. Colleagues, we are fortunate this evening to have in our presence the Senior Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic at the University of Witwatersrand, Professor Ruksana Osman. I'd like to call upon Professor Rabi Dampat, who is the National Program Manager for Saud, to introduce Professor Osman.
Thank you, Prof. Devru. Prof. Ndebele has done the protocol, so with your permission, I will skip it and move straight on to welcoming Prof. Ruksana Osman to address you. But before I do, a brief but important note of appreciation to Wits University. Since the inception of SOUT, Wits has graciously hosted SOUT and initially championed the National University Teaching Awards as well. So, Professor Osman, in your capacity as Senior Vice Chancellor Academic at Wits, your unwavering support of SOUT has been instrumental in shaping the trajectory and ensuring that the work of university teacher development remains anchored in scholarly rigor and national relevance, reflecting your own scholarly trajectory. And I say that with a bit of pride because Prof. Osman and I did our PhDs together back in the 90s. But unlike me, Prof. Osman enjoys a distinguished career in higher education, spanning the full spectrum of institutional leadership, governance, academic management, and especially exemplary scholarship. As a professor of education, she brings extensive expertise in teacher education and higher education, with a focus on policy, pedagogy, and the lived experiences of students navigating equity and access. Her work is widely recognized for its intellectual rigor and social relevance. She holds the UNESCO Chair in Teacher Education for Diversity and Development, through which she has cultivated a global network to advance research and innovation in inclusive education. A prolific author with numerous publications in academic journals, books, and popular media, as well as an elected member of the Academy of Sciences of South Africa. She is celebrated for her contributions to socially just education and commitment to advancing excellence in teaching and learning. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Prof. Osman, who will share her reflections on teaching innovation and excellence.
I noticed there's this thing.
Sure.
I may as well stand on it. It's okay. It's all right. I just saw it, so I thought I should use it. Thank you. Yeah. That was a very, very generous introduction. I appreciate it so very much. Just to add to that, I've recently become a grandma, and I take great pride in that achievement. So I'm standing on a step here. I complain bitterly at the university. I've been in the university for almost 42 years, and they still haven't got it right to have lecterns that are useful for people like myself and others. Yeah, so I insist about it all the time, but they still haven't got it right. But anyway, let me say thank you very much for a really generous introduction, and I appreciate it so very much. I remember fondly our days studying PhD, trying to balance work, play, family, and so on. But I also remember enjoying it very much, studying with you, so thank you. It's a real honor to be invited here, actually, and it's wonderful that we hand over the management of these awards to Walter Sisulu University, and I have no doubt that you'll enjoy hosting them as much as we did. Let me take this opportunity then to welcome the Chief Director, Mr. Shabalala. You're very welcome to Professor Linnington, who stands in for her Vice Chancellor, especially to Professor Indebele, with whom I work quite often in other capacities, to Professor Danpas, the South National Program Manager. This kind of work cannot happen without the dedication of persons like yourself, so I would like to acknowledge you. I also want to acknowledge the Program Director, Professor Devrup. Thank you very much for the invitation. To distinguished guests, award nominees and winners, colleagues and friends, and I don't want to forget Yogita and her team, who did so much background work so that we can enjoy this evening. I don't know Yogita, I've never met her, but I just enjoyed receiving emails from her, so thank you. Oh, that's you? Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to be invited here to this evening's award ceremony to share my reflections on teaching excellence. So in my remarks this evening, I will discuss university teaching and teaching excellence, no doubt, but I would like to reflect on the importance of student learning as a crucial but often overlooked dimension of teaching excellence. I will try to make the case that teaching excellence and student learning is not just a pedagogical project, but is also a social justice project. So how did we get here this evening where we have to actually take time out to celebrate what should be natural to all of us teaching in a university? How did we get here? Universities have existed for over 1,000 years. For most of this history,
teaching students was the primary and often the only responsibility of university academics. The role of the university professor was fundamentally that of a teacher. During the 20th century, the role of the researcher was added to that of the teacher. And towards the latter part of the century, as many universities, the researcher role overtook the teacher role in status, in prestige, financial reward, leading many academics to devote less effort and energy to teaching than to research. Perverse institutional reward structures exacerbated the situation. Status and financial gain drove increasing attention to research and decreasing attention to teaching. When university education was available only to a small elite, and when governments provided most of the costs, we could tolerate this situation. However, it's become intolerable when higher education has opened access since the 1990s. Student populations grew both in size and in diversity, and teaching excellence has become an essential part again to student learning and to student success. More recently, rapid global changes in technology require good university teaching as essential rather than as an add-on. The widespread availability of powerful AI tools, the increasing appearance of AI-generated content on the internet, some designed to deliberately mislead and to use and misuse of social media, make students vulnerable at many levels. I don't need to tell you that. You know that for those of you who are working closely with students. To enhance university teaching and establish parity of esteem for teaching and research requires systemic interventions at national and institutional levels. Fortunately for us here at home, many South African universities are taking this seriously by revising their probation and promotion processes and providing a wide variety of professional learning opportunities for university teachers. The UCDP grants are an example of such support. The DHET's national framework for enhancing academics as university teachers that Professor Linnington spoke about, released in 2018, was an important systemic intervention at the national level. The National University Teaching Awards that we are celebrating this evening are an important way of implementing one of the imperatives in the framework, and that is to ensure that academics are recognized and rewarded for the enormously valuable and important work that they do as university teachers. These awards are vital in elevating university teaching as both important and prestige, and in concert rather than in conflict with research, and in recognizing the extraordinary commitment and achievement of university teachers. At my own university, I insist that we don't speak about research-intensive university, but we speak about a dual-intensive university, teaching and research-intensive. Of course, people forget all the time, but I'm always there to remind them. So allow me now to reflect a little bit on the importance of recentering student learning as a vital part of teaching excellence. And what do I mean by this? My sense is that one is recognized for teaching excellence. My sense is that if one is recognized for teaching excellence, like many of you will be tonight, then the two key elements for nurturing student success and of improving the student learning experience are integral to one's experience. So if one's going to talk about teaching excellence, one's going to have to recognize that student success and the improvement of student learning is going to be vital. There are several ways in which a university and teaching excellence can nurture the success of university students, and even more ways to enhance the learning experience so that students succeed. Frankly, in our context, recentering the student and student learning as part of teaching excellence is not just a teaching project, but it's also part of the social justice project that I mentioned earlier. Allow me a few moments to sketch a brief context of higher education, followed by some ideas on how one can make this a social justice project, and to focus then on student learning. I'll end then with a provocation or two. Firstly, the context globally that universities are facing is that universities have come under considerable criticism, with calls from government, big business, and students themselves demanding to understand the relevance of university curricula for the daily lives and realities of students. Universities have been criticized for being out of touch with students' lives, for teaching courses that are outdated, and for content that is Eurocentric, unresponsive, alienating, and disempowering for those who teach it, like yourselves and me, and for those who learn it. That's the context you all are operating under. In South Africa, it is argued that higher education reflects an environment more concerned with a canon of disciplines largely developed outside of Africa, rather than how we prepare our students to succeed, to be thoughtful, to be reflective, and to be critical thinkers based on an African learning experience. So student success in our context means offering students from underserved communities a world-class learning experience and enabling them to succeed and overcome the legacies of exclusion. That, to me, is teaching excellence. It's about being pedagogically responsive and socially just in an ever-complexifying environment. In particular, I want to say that if we want to center students and their success, we need to do so not only through excellent teaching interventions, but also through a stance that integrates a sense of moral and ethical purpose into teaching excellence, student learning, and student success. So in a way, I'm making a case that teaching excellence is not just about teaching interventions, but it's also about the stance that you take as a teacher in the enterprise of learning and student success. So what would this entail? Or what would this look like in practice? Firstly, teaching excellence underpinned by social justice work does not adhere to theoretical, methodological, or disciplinary fidelity. It draws on a number of literacies, including artistic, quantitative, technological, digital, visual, and even affective work. It draws on all of these literacies to enhance the student learning experience. Herein lies the potential for exploring opportunities within and across university classrooms and structures. Some refer to this as interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary work. Student success does not belong in one silo. Instead, the student experience should be intentionally designed so that students succeed. This implies that students need multiple levels of support, which may sit in a number of spaces across the university, and that these spaces are connected and communicate with each other in the service of student learning and success. Secondly, such connected work advances and endorses a politics of solidarity. It means it opens spaces for working together, for reciprocal and collaborative work to advance socially just pedagogies and student success. It allows for connected ways of getting to know our students and getting to know how to support them to succeed. I'll give you an example. Many of our universities now use or draw on data-driven decision-making about student success and student experiences. Some of our universities are part of the Siyaphumelela project. Now, you can have extensive data on student performance, but teaching excellence means identifying the barriers to learning and success and putting in place initiatives that are timely, just, and responsive. The data is meaningless in the absence of timely interventions, and that for me then is teaching excellence. I must be clear here. With those of us in university management, like myself, such connected work that I'm asking you to do must be supportive of staff workloads. In other words, you can't expect staff to do this kind of connected work without thinking about staff workloads. Give recognition to teaching for promotion and provide the resources needed to advance teaching excellence, student success, and staff professional learning journeys. I'm mindful about that management has to be aware of that. Thirdly, socially just and responsive teaching excellence appreciates the intersection with other social justice struggles in the university beyond those of learning and teaching. The struggles around race, the struggles around gender, around diversity, and around inclusion. Teaching and learning is one small space for this work, but there's an intersection with the work you are doing with the other work in the university. Socially just teaching excellence recognizes the need to engage the material, structural, epistemic, and pedagogical as constituents of social justice. In other words, there are interconnections between these dimensions when one speaks about teaching excellence. Finally, while we may initiate many small-scale projects that attempt to disrupt unthinking teaching practices and adopt socially just approaches for student success as part of teaching excellence, we cannot assume that the university is innocent and its culture is beyond question. A deep engagement with institutional cultures and practices is vital if socially just teaching excellence for student success is to thrive and to take root more globally across the academy. My sense is that the 4 elements that I've outlined this evening begin to give us a tentative framework for thinking about how we recenter the student learning experience in our understanding of teaching excellence. Some may tell me this is a tall order. Well, I'm used to making this order even taller by a provocation or two. I ask you 2 questions. Are socially just ways of teaching and teaching excellence even possible in complex university environments like ours? I ask you, are we able or even prepared to put the student learning experience at the center of student excellence? Ultimately, we may ask, through teaching excellence, are we preparing students for our past or their futures? And with those 3 provocations, there will be some of you who will say, well, we've always done things the way we've done and we've managed. Why change now with the need for being responsive or just? For me, I would say, yeah, that may very well be so. Why change now? I recognize that education is known to reproduce inequality and injustice, but it also remains the site of hope and aspiration for new imaginaries and possibilities. I believe, to those of us who say why change and why change now, I'd say change is possible and change is desirable. I would say further that all of us here tonight, as scholars of learning and teaching, we must pull together in the finest tradition of academic life to redefine the relationship between student success and teaching excellence as part of our efforts to renew the social contract for education. Let me take this opportunity then to congratulate the award winners who have shown commitment, creativity, and a high level of professionalism with regard to teaching excellence. My intervention and reflections tonight are just to give you a little bit of thought about teaching excellence in general. And with that, I thank you, and I thank you for the invitation to be able to be here this evening with you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Prof. Osman to just remain on stage for 1 second while we have Yogita present you with a little recognition. Thank you so much, Prof. Osman. So, ladies and gentlemen, when Professor Dunpath mentioned that WITS has been a staunch supporter of Saud and the work that they do, and it was spearheaded by Prof. Osman, I figured, well, it's a very good gesture that the university supports an organization such as this. But having heard Prof. Osman speak, you can tell passion for teaching runs deep in her veins. It is not just a gesture. I think this is something that Prof. Osman and the team at WITS are really committed to and dedicated. So sincerest thanks, Prof. Osman, and everybody for what you do for Saud. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to move on to the awarding of commendations and awards, which is the highlight of this evening. But before we do, I'd like to find out, do we have anyone from languages, linguistics? You see, the thing that I've always been fascinated about, and as I walked in, the gentlemen who were assisting with my microphones had somehow misplaced my microphone. And so I was standing here and we were running out of time and it was 6 and I said, guys, I need my microphone. And the first thing the guy said, ish. Prof, we can't find it, ish. Okay. So then it hit me like, well, this word, ish, where does it come from? So I did a quick Google search and apparently it originates from the Nguni languages of isiZulu and isiXhosa. It is one of the few words in any language that can convey multiple emotions. It can convey frustration, disappointment, concern, exasperation, happiness, surprise, shock. So I figured, let me give you a few examples of real news examples. And I'm going to incorporate some of these expressions of ish. Frustration and disappointment. Ish, load shedding. Concern. Ish, President Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. Exasperation. Ish, Helen Zille is running for mayor of Joburg. My best one, though, is the one that conveys surprise and shock. And I observed this mostly with African males. It's ish, followed by yo, 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 yo. And let me give you an example. True story in the news. Ish, yo, 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 yo. Pretoria police station was robbed by thieves. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for that special time of the evening. I'd like to call upon Prof. Ndebele and Prof. Linnington to the stage to assist with the commendations. Ish. I'd like to begin with the 2024 commendations. The first commendation for 2024 in the experienced teacher category goes to Prof. Nicola Plasto. Prof. Nicola. Professor Plasto comes to us from the University of Stellenbosch. The second commendation for 2024, also in the experienced teacher category, coming to us from Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Dr. Shweta Patnaik. The third commendation for 2024, also in the experienced teacher category, from the University of Johannesburg, Dr. Fatima Ismail. Moving on to the 2025 commendations, we have two. The first commendation for 2025 in the experienced teacher category from the University of Pretoria, Professor Andri Giman. The second commendation for 2025, which is also in the experienced teacher category, from Nelson Mandela University, Professor Gerrit Crawford. I'd like to say thank you to Professor Lennington and Professor Ndebele. Thank you. You may be seated. The 2024 and 2025 awards. For each of these awards, the candidate receives a trophy, a certificate, and a financial incentive of 60,000 Rand each. I would like to call upon Professor Osman and Mr. Shabalala to present the awards. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shabalala is the Chief Director of University Education at the Department of Higher Education and Training. The first award for 2024 in the experience category goes to Professor Bodina McConaughey from Rhodes University.
Musicologist with a passion for classical flute and African percussion, and as head of the Department of Music and Musicology at Rhodes University, I coordinate the music education courses through the Rhodes University Faculty of Education, as well as oversee the teaching and learning program at the International Library of African Music, otherwise known as IAM. As a committed educator and advocate for the Indigenous knowledge systems and Indigenous African music, I've dedicated my career to making an impact on African musical arts revaluing in the academic and cultural landscapes across South Africa and the continent. My teaching philosophy embraces embodied and experiential learning, transgressive approaches, and Indigenous ways of knowing. Leading the African Musical Arts program at ILAM, I strive to ensure that students from all backgrounds have access to high-quality music education rooted in African traditions. In my courses, students engage with African music as both a practice and a lens for exploring social, political, and cultural issues, fostering what I believe is a holistic and transformative learning experience. Beyond the university, I'm actively involved in community engagement projects, demonstrating my belief in music as a tool for social change and empowerment. And I've also consulted with South African and other African universities, helping them incorporate Indigenous pedagogies into their music, dance, and cultural studies programs. Through this work, I believe that I contribute to decolonial approaches in education, leaving a lasting mark on curriculum development and teaching practices across our very special continent.
McConaughey. The second award for 2024, also in the Experienced Teacher category from the University of Johannesburg, goes to Professor Thembisa Vaitjan. Unfortunately, Professor Thembisa Vaitjan could not join us this evening. Accordingly, her award is presented in absentia. Moving on to the 2025 awards. We have 7 awardees, 5 individual awards, and 2 team awards. The first award for 2025 in the Experienced Teacher category from Nelson Mandela University goes to Dr. Jean-Pierre Besson.
I'm Dr. Jean-Pierre Besson, Senior Lecturer and Head of the Architecture Department here at Nelson Mandela University. I'm an architect by profession and educator by passion. My teaching philosophy is grounded in care and human connection. I believe students learn the best when they feel seen, supported, and challenged. Through my Studio Incubate model, we integrate design, theory, construction, and digital skills into one coherent learning journey, transforming the traditional studio into a place of belonging and critical inquiry. Learning doesn't live within walls. It thrives wherever curiosity takes us. From exploring spatial principles at the beach to co-creating therapeutic spaces for schools. My goal is to connect architectural education to the real world. Each activity fosters empathy, collaboration, and critical thinking, essential 21st century skills. This integrated humanizing approach has led to consistent student success, improved well-being, and international recognition for our department. Our graduates are confident, ethical designers who see themselves as agents of change. At Nelson Mandela University, we don't just teach architecture, we teach collaboration, criticality, and care.
Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jean-Pierre Besson. The second award for 2025, which is also in the Experienced Teacher category, goes to Professor George Hull from the University of Cape Town.
Philosophy asks the big, uncomfortable questions.
What constitutes a successful, flourishing human life?
Are there moral facts? What is racism?
How do we know who the experts are?
It also equips us with the tools to clarify our thinking, defend our positions through argument, and detect error. At the University of Cape Town, I have helped overhaul the business ethics curriculum, co-authoring a dedicated textbook. Inspired by wonderful guest lecturers and building on my own research, I created a philosophy of race course which draws on local and international sources. Questions about race and identity are hotly contested by philosophers today. But they were also debated by intellectuals in the liberation movements fighting against segregation and apartheid. For example, Neville Alexander of the Unity movement, a former Robben Island prisoner. In 2023, myself and Mariam Konate of Western Michigan University merged our classrooms using Video Link in a COIL, or
collaborative online international learning opportunity,
bringing students from different contexts into conversation. In 2024, I reached a wider audience through Tara Moore's award-winning documentary, Legacy.
And yet, these absurd categories, these categories which make no sense from a scientific point of view, were perhaps the main determining factor of how well your life would go, what opportunities you would have. All these things were determined by categories which are thoroughly artificial.
In my teaching, I show how philosophy illuminates topics which matter to everyone.
Please welcome to the stage Professor George Hull. Third award for 2025 is in the team category. This team comes from Northwest University and is led by Professor Yolandi Heymans.
Northwest University strives to create learning experiences that are inclusive, responsive, transformative, and fair. Within this vision, Dr. Christian Becker from the School of Psychosocial Health on the Vanderbijl Park campus, Dr. Christa Bischoff from the School of Human Movement Sciences on the Mahikeng campus, and Professors Christemols, Yolanda Heymans, Anisha Libber, and Jessica Poole from the Center for Health Professions Education on the Potchefstroom campus have, as an interdisciplinary and cross-campus teaching team, redefined what innovative, inclusive, and learning-centered teaching can look like in a large cross-campus compulsory second-year module with 1,500 students from 13 healthcare disciplines. Module content such as the influence of worldviews on healthcare, the national health insurance, and through interprofessional collaboration both locally and internationally, students as emerging healthcare professionals are exposed to complex real-world challenges, their agency, and the value of learning with, from, and about one another. Researching their teaching practices through the scholarship of teaching and learning, and utilizing their agency to engage with other university teachers on various levels, they infuse discussions with ideas around curriculum transformation and socially just pedagogy to ensure that learning remains relevant, responsive, inclusive, and future focused.
We hope that our journey and our story
will inspire other university teachers to reflect,
to converse,
to act, and to innovate.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage Professor Yolandi Heymans, the lead. While Professor Heymans gets her awards, I would like to call the rest of the team to the stage. Professor Jessica Pearl. Professor Anisha Libber. Professor Chrismal Chrismals. Dr. Christian Becker. And the final team member, Dr. Christo Bissoff. One final time, folks, the team from Northwest University. Thank you. The fourth award for the 2025 Beginner Teacher category goes to Dr. Megan Finn from the University of Johannesburg.
Hi, I'm Dr. Megan Finn, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Public Law at UJ. I came to teaching after working as an advocate because I'm passionate about teaching and believe law can be such an important, even if incomplete, tool for social justice. South Africa's constitution promises transformation, but deep inequalities rooted in our history persist. Teaching constitutional and administrative law here means grappling with that tension and equipping students with the tools to challenge it. Legal education can sometimes be disconnected from both students' lives and legal practice. I try to bring both empathy and rigor to the classroom. That means making intimidating concepts accessible and meeting students where they are. I believe in play in the classroom. Students learn separation of powers by playing rock, paper, scissors and compete to explain case law in 30 seconds tournaments. It also means connecting students directly with practice, bringing practicing lawyers into the classroom and placing students in leading public interest law organizations where they engage with real cases, conduct legal research, and develop the skills to use law as a tool for accountability. I host public lectures where students engage with practitioners who use administrative law to advance social justice. Say hello. So both of you were part of the Social Justice Internship Program. The Social Justice Internship Program places final year and LLM students with organizations like Section 27, CERI, and Lawyers for Human Rights. My students face real challenges, but they bring remarkable determination. I learn as much from them as they learn from me. They challenge my assumptions and remind me why this matters. Law is a tool, not only a discipline. If my teaching helps students see themselves as wielders of that tool for justice, then that's the work.
Unfortunately, Dr. Finn could not join us this evening. Accordingly, her award is presented in absentia. The fifth award for 2025 in the Experienced Teacher category from the University of KwaZulu-Natal goes to Professor Andrew John Bethke.
Hello, I am Andrew John Bethke, Associate Professor in Music at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. My teaching philosophy is based in critical and relational pedagogies. This creates a classroom where knowledge is not given to students, but co-created by both teacher and learner. At the heart of this philosophy is the idea that powerful knowledge is best learned when it is embodied through music, through language, through all aspects of creating music and knowledge together, and when it's in our home language particularly. That's why I've led bilingual projects translating music theory into Zulu, producing with colleagues a Zulu English musical glossary and several textbooks that unite African and Western traditions. This bilingual musical epistemology helps students recognize that theory and creativity can emerge from every culture. I'm also reshaping assessment and curriculum to value process, imagination, and dialogue, using local music, digital tools, and peer mentoring to bridge theory and lived experience. Teaching for me is a shared act of transformation, a song of hybridity, creativity, and justice, where every voice finds harmony.
Please welcome to the stage Professor Andrew John Bethke. The 6th award for 2025, which is also in the experienced teacher category, goes to Dr. Vusi Mshaisa from Cape Peninsula University of Technology.
I am Dr. Vusi Mshaisa, a senior lecturer, NRF-rated researcher, and the leader of the edible insects research group at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology in the Department of Food Science and Technology. It is truly an honor and privilege for me to be recognized as one of the winners for the NOTA 2025. My teaching philosophy is based on 3 sound core principles: innovation, authenticity, and transformation. I believe that education should spark and stimulate curiosity and not conformity. In my classrooms, I merge scientific rigor and traditional teaching and learning principles with the aim to enhance the students' understanding and knowledge in order to solve societal problems. Over the past few years, I've embraced technology-enhanced teaching and learning pedagogies, but we've also included low-cost pedagogies, taking into consideration where our students come from. Today, we have sensory labs that we have created from scratch. We've developed models that enhance the preparedness of the students before they come into the lab. We are also infusing AI in our teaching and learning to ensure that our teaching and learning methodologies, they are data-driven and student-centered. But what I think sets my teaching and learning techniques apart is mentorship. I deeply invest in mentorship for my students and spend a lot of time guiding them, either from first year up until doctoral level. I just don't want to see my students as learners, and I also don't want themselves to see themselves as learners, but rather as scientists that are capable to solve societal problems, particularly in the case of food security in the African continent.
Please welcome on stage Dr. Vusi Mshaisa. Ladies and gentlemen, the 7th and final award for 2025 is in the team category. This team comes to us from Stellenbosch University. The team is led by Professor Karen Wolf.
My name is Karen Wolf. I'm the Teaching and Learning Advisor in the Faculty of Engineering at Stellenbosch University. Welcome to our recommended engineering education practices community. This is the space where our engineering academics collaborate across departments, faculties, centers, and other higher education institutions to improve our student learning experience. Our collective aim is to provide cognitive, affective, and systemic support to ensure greater student success. All our work is research and theory informed, supported by data, and we follow the 4 guiding principles of the Council on Higher Education: providing foundation support, enabling epistemic transitions, developing academic, digital, and disciplinary literacies, and enhancing student understanding of engineering in society and the world of work. We come together on a regular basis to reflect, discuss, design, implement, and evaluate different kinds of learning strategies. We've developed concept inventories, practice and revision quizzes, case studies to connect theory to practice, and a range of peer engagement initiatives. We regularly share our work at teaching forums and mornings, present at conferences, and have published over 50 articles in accredited proceedings and journals. We enjoy the support of our faculty and institutional management and believe that tackling our collective challenges can only be achieved together.
Let's welcome on stage, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Karen Wolf, the lead of the team from Stellenbosch. Unfortunately, all of them could not join us, so I'd like to call upon the team members that are here. Professor Deborah Blaine, to please come up on stage. We also have Dr. Melody Neves. Dr. Maurette Klutter. And Professor Sonia Feder. Ladies and gentlemen, the rest of the team unfortunately could not join us, but we are fortunate to have these members from Stellenbosch University. Congratulations. At this this point, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to request two group photographs, one with the commendees and the second one with the awardees. But I would like to call upon, back on stage, Professor Ndebele and Professor Linnington and Professor Ravi Danpat. Can we have the commendees, please? 24 and 25 commendees on stage for a group photograph. VIPs to remain on stage. Can we have all of the awardees on stage, please? We'll make it work. I think come forward and we'll have some on the floor. Some of you at the back and some stand in the front. So, sincerest congratulations to all of the commendees and all of the awardees. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, there were two students who were sitting in class, and one day the two students decided to go out into the courtyard at the university. And Pete and Rajesh were having their lunch. Pete is nibbling down on some fat cook and mince. Rajesh is enjoying some beans curry. And Rajesh asks Pete, "Pete, do you think God is a black man or a white man?" And Pete immediately says, "Wow, God is a white man." And Rajesh says, "But how can you be so sure? All we have are pictures." To which Pete says, "Exactly. If you look at any picture of God, he is a white man." And so they argued for a while. And they could not come to consensus. So they decided, we are going to ask God. So Pete and Rajesh went all the way up and climbed Mount Fuji. They get up to the top of Mount Fuji and they shout, "God! God! Are you a white man or a black man?" And after a period of silence, there was this deep, husky voice that said, "I am who I am." And immediately, Pete says, "You see, I told you, God is a white man." And Rajesh says, well, all he said was, "I am who I am." And Pete says, "Exactly. If God was a black man, he would have said, Ish, yo. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest with us this evening. Mr. Shabalala is the Chief Director in the University Education Branch in the Minister's Office. I'd like to call upon Mr. Shabalala to deliver an address. Mr. Shabalala.
Thank you, Program Director. Good evening. Sanwanan. Yeah, I want to give you ideas of who God is. Dumelang. Abshin. You see? You've got doubts. But otherwise, he is who he is, or she is. Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Devrup. I'd like to start off with greetings from the Department of Higher Education and Training. As you can see, I do not look like a minister, but I'm standing here on behalf of the department which is driving these awards in partnership with the University, Walter Sisulu University, and Wits University, which is handing over today. So to the Vice Chancellors present here today, in particular, Professor Linnington on behalf of Professor Songa from the Walter Sisulu University, Professor Osman representing the University of Witwatersrand, one of the universities, as I've indicated, working with WUSU in organizing this event, leaders of entities under the auspices of the Department of Higher Education and Training, Universities South Africa, our esteemed academics, families and friends of our esteemed academics and awardees, our special guests, all the winners who have been awarded today, ladies and gentlemen. It's a profound honor to celebrate our nation's university teachers on the day just before the main event of the G20. As you are aware, we are just on the margins of the Leaders Summit of the G20. And I suppose this couldn't have been a much better date that we chose, though we didn't know that it was going to clash with the Leaders Summit of the G20. But I think it's to appreciate and show the stature with which we appreciate the university teachers. Let me also, before I forget, also acknowledge Mr. Rabutapi from the Department of Basic Education, representing the department and the Director General. Can I see where you are with the wave? There he is. Thank you very much for joining us in this auspicious occasion. I'm proud of our university teachers who turned the promise of quality education into a lived reality. Teachers whose knowledge, compassion, and commitment uplift the future of South African students. Teachers who go beyond the call of duty to nurture not just students, but future leaders. It's indeed a distinct honor and privilege for me this evening to address the 2024 and 2025 National University Teaching Awards. This year marks the first National University Teaching Awards hosted by the Department of Higher Education and Training in partnership with Walter Sisulu University and Wits University, as I've already indicated. Through these awards, we recognize your excellence and commitment in university teaching. You have served tirelessly to make achievements towards the bigger mandate of creating an integrated, coordinated, and articulated post-school education and training system that meets the country's economic and social needs, that promotes social inclusion and fosters a skilled and capable citizenry. South Africa's education system continues its long journey of transformation. While we acknowledge that much work lies ahead, we must also recognize the significant strides we have already made. Our Constitution affirms that every child deserves quality education, for without it, the realization of all other rights becomes fragile. Without quality education, freedom cannot flourish, empowerment cannot occur, and our society cannot progress. But quality does not emerge by chance. It's built. It requires vision, resources, collaboration, and above all, it requires teachers of substance. That's why I'd like to distinguish between qualified teachers and quality teachers. You get it? There's a difference between qualified teachers and quality teachers. A qualification is the beginning, not the destination. True quality grows over time, shaped by continuous learning, mentorship, curiosity, and a deep sense of responsibility to every child, as illustrated by the awardees in the work that they've been awarded for. We are proud that our efforts to meet the demand for more teachers, better teachers, are bearing fruit. The department introduced various programs in the higher education sector to enhance the status of teaching in universities. These include programs that aim at enhancing the qualifications of university teachers, improving their teaching skills and capabilities, enhancing their research skills through engaged scholarship, and infusing community engagement in their teaching. Our mission is to ensure that every student in our universities is taught by a quality teacher, one equipped with strong content knowledge, effective pedagogy, and a passion for learning. The University Capacity Development Program, the UCDP, and the grant of the department makes this possible. The UCDP is unambiguously and unapologetically transformative in nature. It seeks to transform teaching, learning, research, and leading towards enhanced quality, success, and equity in universities. So staff development is one of the focus areas for this program, the UCDP. Our commitment is clear, unwavering, and grounded in our national development goals. But no matter how strong our policies or programs may be, there's one element that government cannot legislate, and that is the ethical core of teaching. Professor Osman touched on that as a challenge of our time. The values, the passion, and the heart. These are the qualities that breathe life into teaching, the qualities that children remember decades later when they've left your classrooms. The Department of Higher Education and Training is improving the quality of life of millions of South Africans and building a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic country through your efforts, and continued guidance and support. You proved to the public to be good university teachers who serve as role models at your universities and nationally. Teachers who shape future generations by imparting knowledge and essential life skills. Teachers who foster critical thinking and build strong communities to navigate the complex world challenges that contribute significantly to societal progress. We therefore appreciate and recognize you. As university teachers, you play a critical role in imparting specialized knowledge, cultivating critical thinking, and mentoring students to become future experts and lifelong learners. You foster love for your discipline and create a stimulating learning environment where students can develop their full potential. Beyond the lecture halls, your research, especially through the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, contributes to your field, while your engagement with communities ensures your voice shapes academic decisions and societal progress. As we celebrate 31 years of democracy in South Africa, we are proud of your products for striving towards excellence in transforming the higher education system and sector and finding solutions for Africa and the global world. And that is the challenge that I'm putting to you today, to be operating and thinking in what a future university should look like. One that is responsive to the societal challenges and problems, but providing solutions in the meantime. I'm standing here to express the department's warmest congratulations to all the awardees of the 2024 and 2025 National University Teachers Awards. As we gather here and go away from this beautiful hall and beautiful, I know that you operate very well in your own little corners without this noise here. But I really want to inspire you to go on and do greater things and dream big. Keep believing in yourself. Dream high and look deep inside your heart, and you'll find the strength and determination that keeps you going. Each one of you is a role model to your students. You serve positive influences and you inspire motivation. You guide behavior and encourage the pursuit of goals by demonstrating values and providing mentorship. Keep modeling those qualities such as perseverance and hard work in helping your students to develop life skills, boost their confidence, and see what's possible for their own futures. Your golden rule of treating your students the way you would wish to be treated yourself, of showing them courtesy, respect, understanding, clear communication, patient guidance, and fostering a supportive learning environment where they can thrive, is what made you to be here tonight. We cherish you for crafting the future leaders of this country with such passion and devotion. Through these awards, continue with your commitment to offer quality teaching and learning, and rededicate yourself to the teaching profession. Tonight, I want to recognize the success you made in the journey you traveled with your students. You stood focused on your goals. I know it wasn't easy because the journey seemed impossible, but finally you reached your destinations. You made it. Bravo. Ladies and gentlemen, achievement in teaching is not solely about observable metrics like exam results for a few students or a teacher's years of experience and qualifications alone. Instead, it encompasses broader goals such as promoting overall student success, progress, fostering inclusive learning environments, and developing students' critical thinking and social skills. As we celebrate our university teachers tonight, let us remember that every goal that has ever been reached began with just one step, and that the belief that it could be reached. Let us apply the principle of Ubuntu by supporting our university teachers. Our support is crucial because it will enhance your performance. It will improve student outcomes and contribute to the university's mission of excellence in teaching, learning, and research. Research studies show that academics experience serious emotional and psychological stress, which is detrimental to their well-being. I appreciate your resilience, which helps you in coping with the extraordinary circumstances of the 21st century and adapting to the rapid technological and societal shifts to ensure that graduates are relevant and equipped for the future workplace. In conclusion, I wish to instill confidence in our awardees to excel more in higher education and continuous professional growth among all academics in your future of the nation's education system. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate the achievements of our bright university teachers tonight, let us know that together we can build a better South Africa for all. And let's remember, as Madiba taught us, that education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become a head of the mine, that a child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another. We salute you, we honor you, and we thank you for your tireless dedication to the students who will carry this nation forward. And Prof. Osman, as you challenged us and provoked us, I'd like to conclude with this quote that I've grown to love by Bernard Shaw, which says, "Progress is impossible without change, and those that cannot change their minds and thinking cannot change anything." You are the heartbeat of our education system. You are the champions of our democracy. You are the architects of our tomorrow. Once more, congratulations on your achievements. Ke a leboha.
Thank you, Mr. Shabalala. Ladies and gentlemen, we've almost come to the end of the formalities. Before I call up Professor Danpath, we'll leave you one piece to whet your appetite for what's to follow after Professor Danpath's vote of thanks. Enjoy. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, after I release an album every year or 2 years. After all of the music you'll find on Spotify, and that track was off the last album that went into the Grammys last year. And that's serious. It didn't make it into the Grammys. But funny thing happened. When I released my album this year, which also made it into the first round of the Grammys, my niece came up to me and she says, she calls me Kaka. So she says, you know, Kaka, you need to get an influencer. So I said, what does an influencer do? She says, well, they speak to other people. I said, about what? She said, they speak to other people about you. So I said, who do they speak to? They speak to the whole world. Now, in my book, that's called a gossip. Ladies and gentlemen, this event would not have been possible without the help and support of many individuals. I'd like to call upon Professor Ravi Danpath, who is an honorary professor of higher education at UKZN. He is the National Program Manager of South African University Teachers, and he's a research fellow, Fulbright, Spencer, and Rockefeller. I call upon Professor Danpath to deliver the closing remarks. Prof.
Should I use the platform? Thank you, Prof. Osman. Now I'm really taller than you. Prof. Devrup, that was in a different league. Ladies and gentlemen, I am keenly aware that I stand between you and dinner and more of that delightful music. So I shall be brief, but I feel it's an obligation for me, on your behalf, to thank a few individuals. So if you will indulge me. As Prof. Linnington reminded us earlier, NUTA, National University Teaching Awards, can be traced back to the National Teaching Excellence Award, which was hosted by the CHE and ELTASA. These national awards laid the foundations for a more inclusive and reconceptualized notion of excellence, which is now embedded in the national framework for the enhancement of university teachers. So our mandate as South African University Teachers is to implement the national framework, and I urge you to visit our South website to download the national framework. It's a living document to which we should all aspire. So today, both South and NUTA represent a significant milestone in higher education development. For generations, as Prof. Osman reminded us, teaching was the poor cousin of research. Tonight, we celebrate not only individual achievement, but the culmination of a shared vision that is a university system where teaching is valued, supported, and recognized as a cornerstone of higher education alongside research. To this end, the National Coordinating Committee, the NCC, and Executive Management Committee, the EMC of SOUT, have worked tirelessly over the past decade to charter a new vision for higher education. And they've achieved this through strategic partnerships with USAF, CHE, ELTASA, and DHET. So tonight we recognize NCC and EMC membership as the regenerated lifeblood of South African higher education. And we salute you, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate educators whose practice exemplifies the South ideals and values. Through initiatives such as NUTA, They championed a pedagogy of care, promoted the scholarship of teaching and learning, and ensured that innovation in teaching is recognized not as an exception, but as an expectation. Their work affirms that excellence in teaching is inseparable from transformation, and that recognition must be accompanied by sustained professional development, institutional support, and adequate reward. Now, I want to single a few individuals for special note. First, to our Chief Director, Mr. Shavlala. Thank you, sir, for honoring us with your presence and your wise words in your thoughtful keynote. And a special note of gratitude to Ms. Mandisa Kakwe, the uncelebrated Mandisa in my books is the quiet heroine who works tirelessly to make things work. We notice Mandisa. Thank you. I want to pay a special tribute to Dr. Witty Green. Witty, are you in the audience? No? I was half expecting him to be here because he was responsible for the foundational work of SOUT. While he was still at DHET, he was instrumental in driving the development of the national framework, which now is our new go-to document for higher education development. To Wits University, which hosted SOUT since inception, we express our praise and gratitude, and a special gratitude to Dr. Razia Musa. Are you here, Razia? No? Okay. Razia Musa makes things happen. She controls the purse strings, and she does it well. And I also want to, and I've forgotten, I should have done this at the outset, to acknowledge Professor Diane Grayson, the first chair of SOUT, who provided the impetus to make SOUT what it is today. Thank you. Diane Grayson is no longer in the country, and she is pursuing other interests. Thank you, Prof. Osman, once again. Thank you for your lovely reflections and your provocations. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and experience, and for reminding us why this work matters so profoundly to our students, our institutions, and our nation. SOUT, which had its roots in Wits, has migrated to WSU, Walter Sisulu University, an institution whose values resonate deeply with SOUT's commitment to equity, transformation, and pedagogic innovation. We are especially grateful to our current chairperson, Prof. Ndebele, for his principled and steady leadership during this pivotal phase of consolidation and growth. Prof. Ndebele, thank you for your opening remarks, which you delivered with such clarity of purpose, and for consistently anchoring SOUT's work in a vision that is both intellectually rigorous and socially responsive. Thank you, Prof. Lidington. Prof. Lidington is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Teaching and Learning at Walter Sisulu University. We are deeply grateful for your opening address, and your insights and reflections provided valuable content and reinforced the critical role that teaching excellence plays in shaping the future of South African higher education. Thanks to the communications team at WSU under the sterling stewardship of Ms. Yunela Tukwayo. Yunela, please stand. On your behalf, we thank your team. And to the Finance Minister, Mr. Phila Danster, are you here? Thank you both, and to Walter Sisulu University in general, for your can-do spirit, which enables our work. To our partner institutions, CHE, USAF, NRF, ELTASA, thank you for your support. And especially to our core sponsor and funder, DHET, as I mentioned, represented by Mandisa, we express our deep gratitude to you. The NCC has long, and National Coordinating Committee has long recognized that equal participation in an inherently unequal system is an illusion. In response, therefore, members of NCC have championed mentoring to bridge the divide between the emerging and the privileged. So to our mentoring team, thank you for the carefully crafted virtual workshops and resource materials which have been central to widening participation and building capacity across institutions. The NUTA program rests on the foundations of rigorous, fair, and principled adjudication. To our selfless adjudicators who spend endless hours reading, evaluating, assessing, and deliberating on the merits of each application, we extend our sincere thanks for your meticulous, transparent, and collegial evaluation to date of more than 100 portfolios, a task demanding dedication, discernment, and discretion. To the 26 participating universities, we extend our sincere appreciation for your inclusive and thoughtful nomination process. And we hope that this award uplifts individual educators in your institution, it fortifies the collective standards of our sector, and deepens our shared pursuit of academic distinction. Ladies and gentlemen, on your behalf, I want to acknowledge the exemplary work of the NUTA Secretariat, especially to Ms. Yogita Ranchon. Yogita, your meticulous organization and seamless administration and financial management have been instrumental in bringing this event to life. We are a tiny office, and the one other member is Louis Gerald Malua. Are you here, Louis? Yes. Louis is our monitoring and evaluation specialist. Thank you, Louis, for safeguarding the rigor and integrity of our processes, ensuring that our standards remain both credible and accountable. We are grateful to Empress Palace, and especially to Audrey Fisher. Audrey, where are you? Audrey has left the room. So you might have seen Audrey, who represents Travel with Flair, who's the organization that's responsible for the events planning and coordination. She is an admirably capable person who is commendable attention to detail. To the other technical staff in the background there, thank you very much for your expertise and excellence. And then to our maestros, the two professors, two Devrups, Professor Karendra Devrup, and you will soon hear Prof. Chats Devrup. Thank you for steering this evening's proceedings with such grace and composure and humor. And now let us turn our attention to the heart of this evening's purpose. Our warmest congratulations to the 24-25 award commandees and recipients. Your recognition tonight honors not only your sustained intellectual labor, but also your ingenuity and commitment to student success, as was evident in your video clips. You exemplify the scholarly values and aspirations that South African university teachers seeks to uphold. Values we trust our universities will continue to cultivate and celebrate. Finally, to everyone present, thank you for joining us in recognizing our awardees. As we move to dinner and further conversation, let us continue to share ideas, strengthen collegial ties, and renew our collective commitment to teaching as a scholarly and transformative practice. And do spread the word amongst your colleagues back home that we do value you. And we hope to see some of you at least back here next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dunbar. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our formalities. We are going to move to dinner. A few requests, please. This is a buffet dinner. We have stations on the left and on the right. I'd like to ask for your indulgence, please, if we could have our VIP table first head out to serve themselves, and then you may join either the left or the right. There is a cash bar that is available. Enjoy the food. I'd like to now introduce to you our entertainers for the evening. This is the man who taught me music when I was a young 15-year-old kid. It's my older brother, Chats Devrup. He is a professor of music, rated researcher, international performer, and he is going to be joined by Ms. Ntabiseng Motsepe Notiesi, who is a world-class performer. And I say that with absolute truth because she appeared on my most recent album that was released in May of this year. And Ntabiseng is one of our instructors at Tshwane University of Technology and at Pretoria University, and I'm very proud to say, one of my master students. So please join us. Ladies and gentlemen, and help yourself to dinner. Thank you. I'll join you in a little bit.